You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want. Unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherlands calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa. Okay, greetings, beloved. Greetings, Pan-African Daily TV family. We welcome you on this special day, and we're saying Happy Independence Day to our people in Haiti. Today is the Independence Day soup. So if we find Mama Bello here in studio, we should be wondering who is cooking that soup and who is going to be sharing that soup right there. So, but of course, Mama Bello has been on this job for quite some time. And what she goes around doing now is mobilize and put the organization out there for exposure and the work that they've been doing in Haiti. In Haiti, she taught us that Haiti is the funny word, like Brother Ron Spears was saying, Haiti. So Haiti is the right pronunciation. So today we are celebrating the independence of Haiti today, and also connecting it to Kwanzaa Day number 7, which brings us to the principle of Imani. And Imani simply means faith. So we're going to be sharing Professor Bayyinah's journey on Fondation Felicite and her work, in this service or in this mission ever since she was young. I mean, she started really, really early, like every other chosen daughter of the nation. So we're going to accompany her on her journey, as it is the independence of Haiti. So we're actually celebrating her work, her mission, her purpose, her vision, not just for Haiti, but for Africa itself. So we welcome all of you that are joining. And please, if you join, make sure you enjoy. You invite one another. Oh my God, Phil Lee said, I was here a long time and I've been waiting. Thank you so very much. Mr. Parker, thank you. Always in the place and on time. Thank you, Sister Elizabeth. Thank you, all of you that are watching. For now, I can see we're just watching on one source for now. The others are not yet connected. But as we continue the conversation, we're going to, I think others would be joining as well. So because of time constraint, and also because Professor Bayyinah has another appointment to catch up of, today is Independence Day. And for her to even have that time to spend this day with us in the studio just for a short time or for this length of time, we actually appreciate you, Mama Bello. Thank you so very much for being here. So
for the work that you do and the theme that you have chosen.
Thank you. I think how did it even happen that, on the 1st of January, of course, in the Gregorian calendar, we're having the last day of the Kwanzaa, and today we're also having the Independence Day of Haiti. Professor, give us something. Is it a coincidence?
No. I did get a chance to speak to Brother Karenga years and years ago. Mm-hmm. And he is a man of knowledge. And he has hooked it up that way in a purposeful way. Okay, so it's not a coincidence. Yes. So this is, and that's where history is so important. When we understand, and when we understand our history is not from whatever little geographical space we are operating at the moment. Mm-hmm. We are the guardians of the planet. We are the guardians of our planet Earth. So when we don't know the history of our planet, that makes us weak. It makes us make bad decisions that does not benefit all the members of the family. So it is in that spirit that Brother Karenga did land and January 1st to end and to deal with faith. So let's look at faith. What is faith? First of all, we have to understand most of us have a misconception of faith because we tie faith to religion. It has absolutely nothing to do with religion. Faith existed way before any man concocted religion existed. And the first element of faith is the faith that you must have in yourself, your talents, your ability to solve whatever problems comes in front of you. Our ancestors, our revolutionary ancestors, just imagine a minute. People who are living with chains in their ankles, chains in the wrists, chains on the neck, having enough faith in themselves to say, one day I'm going to break those chains. One day I'm going to use those chains as a weapon against the one who put it on my leg, on my arm, around my neck. And one day I will be a free person again. Even if I did not see my grandma being free, I did not see my parents being free, but I had that faith that I could do it. And when we look at Jean-Jacques Dessalines, General Jean-Jacques Dessalines, on March 22nd, 1802, speaking to the troops in Crête-à-Pierrot, in that fort, that fortress, 700 of our military people were besieged. They came into the fort just to do some repairs. And when the French army noticed them, General Rochambeau called 12,000 troops to besiege the 700 troops, Haitian troops in there. And so he said, within an hour, it will be over. He's going to crush a fly. That was his version, his perception of things. But our people in that fort, they had faith in themselves. Not only the battle lasted 22 days, not only they had no food, no water, they were sucking on their shoes and sandals to trick their stomach. And yet they continued to fight. Stones and sticks against cannonballs. It took faith to do that. And not faith on something outside of yourself. Not faith in something up in the sky, but that faith from within that you can call on instantly, continuously. That's the faith that brought us through Crête-à-Pierrot. And when Dessalines said to us in Crête-à-Pierrot, even if you see me submit to French authorities 100 times, know that 100 times 100, I shall betray them. We'll have to fight. We may have to hide many times, but ultimately we will come down from those mountains. Like a storm, we will crush the French army. They will have to leave our island. And that day, I will give you independence. This is March 22, 1802, 2 years earlier. So it was faith speaking through Dessalines. In that same speech, he also said, the fight that we are carrying on through against slavery, the entire universe will participate in it. At some point, Mother Nature will send rain. The rain will bring fever to the French army and diminish the number of their soldiers. And when the numbers are right, we will come down and crush them out of the island. Faith is what makes you see what is not seen by others.
Yes.
Faith is what brings vision. So without faith in yourself, be careful. If I'm waiting for anything outside of myself to help, I will certainly give up very quickly.
Mm.
We have been on this path for over 40 years. The first soup jumus sharing was in my yard. I went around, begged some people. I had to beg them to beg the beggars to come to my house. And maybe 10 or 12 of them came. And that was how we started the soup. Then down the road, more people joined in, started doing it with us, and then we would go to different places. And then in 1999, we were able to create Fondation Félicité. And at this point, many students, many people joined the Fondation. And today, for example, we are sharing the soup with no less than 15,000 people.
Oh my God.
But we started in our yard with 10, 12 folks. Sometimes we had to pay somebody to come and take the soup.
Yes, I can imagine.
Yes. We were attacked in many, many ways. Churches would come, pastors and folks like that would come where distribution is is taking place and say, no, the soup, it will make you sick. It will da. They will say everything they. Well, when I first experienced that, I started to research what is in the pumpkin, what is in the carrots, what is in all the things that we're using. And then I discovered Empress Félicité, number one, she's a healer. And she created that soup for us with the very specific intention to keep us healthy coming out of slavery, where you only ate whatever slavers gave you. You had all kinds of problems, difficulties, health problems. So, and she also knew most of us, after independence, we didn't have a pot to piss in. So how do you eat 3 times a day? Impossible. How do you eat once a day? Impossible. But yet the nation must stay healthy. So she came with this specific concoction of vegetables that she says, even if you take it and you stay without food for 10 days, don't worry. The nutritions will still be working in you. If you prepare it properly. And the number one thing is not to put any meat in it. And down the road, in 1994, a friend of mine was working for a laboratory and tested everything. And he told me that not only is that soup such a powerful nutritional element, but the reason the Empress could say, even if you go 10 days without food, don't worry. The first time you can make some food, make that soup. The next day you can make food, do whatever you want. The next day, do whatever you want. But if you go again 10, 12 days with no food, make that soup. He says, because the pumpkin in Haiti has 4 enzymes in it. And one of those enzymes work like a glue. And it seals the nutritions in our body. That's why if you cannot eat every day, it's necessary to have that independent soup, the recipe that the Empress gave us. So here again, faith. I had to have enough trust. Even when I did not know why. She said not to put soup in it. I say, we don't put soup in it. We don't put meat in it. I didn't know why. But it was until we had been doing the soup for years before I met this brother, 1994, who tested everything and told me why not to put meat in the soup. So I had to have the faith, go on my ancestor's word. Since she said it, that's good enough for me. I don't care if the whole world says something different.
Yes.
That's what faith does for you. You see, even things looks very difficult, very hard. Okay. We cannot say impossible. As a Haitian person, I cannot say impossible because I know impossible died on November 1803 in Vertières. And
Powerful.
impossible was buried in Vertières. So does not exist in my life.
Mm. Speak, Mama Bello.
Okay.
Teach.
So things may get very difficult. Things may get very hard. I may not have the right mindset to have the vision to see how to get out of a situation. But I always have faith. And my faith in Bayyinah will always see me through whatever.
Hmm. Powerful. Powerful, Professor. While we're speaking, I just want to show you those of you. I mean, like we said, today is the first of at our Independence Day in the soup. A lot of people were still asking; they didn't get the link to support. This is the link right here that I'm putting out here. Okay, that is the link. On you click on that link, you have the possibility to support through Cash App, which is really direct, or you can also support through Zelle or a bank account. But we still also have, wait, let me just show you other, possibilities. Like I said, here is the Cash App page where you can sign it to, or you can, I think you can literally screenshot, or most of you just text me in the group and I send it to you so you can easily just, like scan it and then you get the link of the Cash App. Or, okay, you see, this is Professor Bayyinah's Fondation Felicité's contact card with PayPal, Cash App, Moncash, and the website and Zelle, all the information that you need. Please, this is here right on our stream, but if you can text me, even as I'm speaking right live on the show, I'll be able to share it to you. Or just click on www.freedomsoup.org and you'll be able to be a part of the independent soup. And so you can proudly say, what did you say died? Professor Bayyinah,
Mhm.
what died? Fear or what? You said something very important, that what died on the 18th of what?
Impossible died
Impossible.
and
I,
was buried
I'm
on
putting it
November
here.
1804.
Impossible died
Yes.
and was buried
Mhm.
and
On
buried
November
on
1803. I'm sorry. November
November
18, November 1803 in Vertières. That's the town in Haiti where we buried Impossible.
in Vertier.
Yes.
Professor Bayyinah's quote. Impossible died and was buried on November 1803 in Vertier.
Exactly. November 18th,
Wonderful.
1803.
Mhm.
Yes.
In
So,
1803.
yes. See.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Thank you, Professor. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
you've brought something very relevant and is key to our mission work. And you already explained it with the principle of Kwanzaa, but let me just bring up the 7 days principles now that we are rounding up on the last day today. And you can see on the first day, it was about Omoja, a unity day, 26th of December. The second day, 27, was Kujijagula.
Kujichagulia.
Yes,
Kujichagulia. Mm-hmm.
yeah, Chagulia, which is
Mm-hmm.
self-determination. And we went up to December 28th, the third day, which was Ujima, collective work and responsibility, the third day. And then we came up to Ojama, cooperative economics, on the fourth day, December 29. Nia was our purpose on December 30th. And Kumba, we did Kumba yesterday,
Kuumba.
creativity. Yes, Kuumba,
Mm-hmm.
Kuumba. And we have a town in Cameroon called Kumba, like this exactly, just with one O. And then today is Imani, the day of faith, the
Mm-hmm.
seventh day, which is the first day. And Professor, you've been saying something really, I think I have to bring you back to that. So, Kwanzaa, at the seventh day of faith, was initiated as, as you said, you met Dr. Karenda, and I mean, the issue of the independence of Haiti come up. So the 7th day today, which is the 1st of January, actually is an initiative, that was brought by Professor Bayyinah, and together in collaboration with Dr. Karenda to support or to celebrate this day, with faith in the revolution or the independence of Haiti. Am I correct, Professor?
No, it was not in collaboration with Bayyinah.
I'm
Dr.
sorry.
Karenga had already done it for years.
Okay.
When I happened to have gone to one of his conferences, and then I questioned him, and that's when I discovered that, yes, he was very much conscious and took the decision knowing this is Haiti's Independence Day.
Okay, good.
I just,
Yes.
gathered the information from him because I
Yes.
was just wondering at that point.
Exactly. Just like I was wondering, like, how could it come that it's a coincidence that it's happening on the 1st?
Exactly.
I question it a lot. Like, I could have been asking you now, and literally you're telling me, no, he was conscious, in putting it that day for that purpose, setting the day.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Professor, the thing that you said that I wanted you to, the faith in this mission, because once we put faith, everybody just knows it's about church, it's about Christianity, it's about religion and stuff like that. And so it becomes different, because that religion faith is the faith that tells you that you have faith, you believe in something you don't know, you don't see, and it comes. But this one that you're talking about is something that is knowing yourself.
Exactly. Correct. Exactly. And that's why I would have I absolutely admire the work of Dr. Karenga. But personally, whenever I am working on the 7 principles, I always put faith first. Because to me, you can't even have unity. Because if I don't know who Bayyinah is and I don't trust Bayyinah, and Susan does not trust Susan, she's wondering, what is Susan? Where is Susan going? Bayyinah is wondering, how can you and I put our heads together and do anything? We can't.
Cannot.
So that's why for me, I always put faith first. And then everything else can fall into place. But each of those principles are vitals. These are, in fact, anyone leading a nation, if they take those 7 principles and apply these principles within the laws, within the practices of the nation, that nation will just spring. Okay. And in fact, without knowing, because it was before Dr. Karenga, but when we analyze King Henry in Haiti, that's exactly what King Henry did. Like, he went out for this huge, he didn't do nothing small. King Henry is big man all the way. Okay. So when he went out to build the citadel, he had a slogan: a great work for a great people. He didn't say for a great king. He said great work for a great people. And he mobilized our people throughout the kingdom to contribute to build the citadel. People 2, 5, 10 miles away are bringing stones, bringing water, bringing this, that, whatever was necessary to build the citadel that can house 20,000 people. So without faith, he couldn't have done it. And without inspiring to each person faith in themselves, he couldn't have done it. So as we study the history of that particular period in Haiti, and this is the man who took Haiti, who created our money, who created, you imagine, in 1800, Haiti mint their own gold and silver pieces. Haiti had a structure, a discipline, a reputation that other people, other countries ask us to mint their money for them. This man The country had no boat, and we are an island. But he was in the boat business prior to becoming king. So he already had 40 or 50 boats of his own, commercial boats doing his own business. He took 10 of his boats, donated to the nation. You see how a leader showing, demonstrating, not telling people you should help the nation. He take 10 of his boats from his business and gave it to the nation to start the nation fleet, the national fleet. And at the end of his term, Haiti possessed a military fleet of 200 boats and a commercial fleet of 220 boats. And the man still had his business and about 100 and something boats of his own for his own personal business. But that's what he left for the nation.
Professor Bayyinah, you're making me to like just explode for here and just go and do some like, so empowering and powerful. What is it that we can do? Professor, what has changed? I mean, like, imagine those days, like we're saying, no technological support, nothing, like everything that we have, no speakers, like motivation and inspirational and role models that are even telling these stories. I mean, what has changed between that faith and the love for community work and the dedication and engagement for once people, race, or caste? What is the situation?
To answer that properly, I'd have to go back again to King Henry, who said, when he created the school system, he says, we're not having no foreigners teach our children. We're going to start the school, not with primary school, but we're going to start university level. And what fields? Mathematics, languages, and astronomy. Hello?
Astronomy.
Math, language, astronomy. Till this day, the people in the north of Haiti, where the kingdom was, they speak more languages and more perfectly foreign languages than the rest of us in Haiti.
Oh my God, Professor.
All right. So he created the thinkers of the kingdom: math, astronomy, languages. And then those thinkers will create the school. All right. So again, we can see when we take the 7 principles, we see where Kujichagulia is applied. Yes. We see the do for self is applied. We see in the decision of the kingdom, we can recognize all 7 principles of Kwanzaa. And that's why we can say, without maybe, I think, blah, blah. No. We could say, you take those 7 principles and you can build a nation. It has been done before.
Ashe, Professor. Yes.
Okay. So that's the basis. Also, we take those 7 principles, we can build our organizations. We can take the 7 principles and build whatever it is we want to build. Now, why we're not doing that today? We went to school at the enemy's school. We went to church at the enemy's church. And so we have all these backward, upside down thoughts that we think are intellectual stuff.
Ashe. Oh my God. Professor Bayyinah, say it the way it is. Yes.
All right. You see, when I was teaching anthropology in IT at the university, the state university, my first course, I always told the students, greetings, I'm Bayyinah Bello. I'll be your teacher for this course. Anthropology, know that this is a criminal science. And the students would be, what? What is this one talking about? Yes, It is a criminal science. It is the science that these people created to go and study us and know how to dominate and enslave us. So if I'm going to teach exactly the way they have it structured, what will I produce? Enemies for my nation.
Yes. Sell out, like you literally selling, you're working to sell your people out. I feel you, Professor Bayyinah.
Okay? So I had to take the basis of anthropology, demonstrate how it has been used, demonstrate why, first of all, anthropologists, like one student, one young person once told me, said, but how can you talk about anthropology and you're always talking about Haiti? Anthropologists, you have to go out. I say, yes, you have to go out, kill the others, steal the others, take what they have. But that's not the anthropology that I'm teaching. The anthropology that I want to share with you is an anthropology that says, know yourself. Once you know yourself, study yourself. So they would have homework like, go around the block, see how many houses, how many this, how many that, what type of people, blah, 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 blah. Study yourself. Because this person, this beggar at the corner, this beggar is also Bayyinah. This woman selling peanuts on the side road, that's me.
Yes.
This man doing the taxi moto, that's again me.
Absolute. Absolute. Absolute.
If I don't have an anthropology that helps me to recognize myself in my environment, then how am I going to treat everyone with respect?
No way.
So that's why we have to be very much aware. When we talk about history, we're talking about the enemy's perception of history. Okay, it's like sometimes people say, oh, you can't say that there is no proof. I went to the University of France, of England. I didn't find any proof on this. I said, all right. So the same people who enslaved me for 312 years, the same France who up until today does not have the word vertière, where they took their biggest loss in Haiti, they can't even name the name of that battle in any books in France. Same friends that lie about my ancestors, the same church that said Black people have no soul. You want me to take their word and ignore my ancestors' words? I'm sorry, I can't do it for you. You go right ahead and do whatever feels good to you, but that's not my path. That's what we have to understand. So history, from its inception, is a science that is against us. Okay? Because what you're going to do, if you're doing the science of the way the historical teaching from the Euro-Christian slave mentality, everything starts with Christopher Columbus. So that means Abubakar II of Mali, who visited the Americas, never existed.
Never existed, Professor Bayyinah.
That means
you don't see it even in their Bibles in church. There's no African that even existed in it. There's no Bayyinah's name or any's name in it.
Exactly. So if I'm going to teach that history to my people, I am a criminal, period.
Indeed.
I am teaching our children not to love self, not to know self. Yes, it's important to study slavery, but we must put it in proper context. If we take Haiti, for example, the island of Haiti existed for more than 3,000 years prior to being invaded by Euro-Christian criminals in 1492. So for more than 3,000 years, that island named Haiti, that word, yes, that's what the name of the island was for more than 3,000 years. Okay? Now, the invaders, the criminal invaders from Europe, come in and they change the name to Hispaniola. That was the Spanish first. So they change it to Hispaniola. And they teach our people this means small Spain. But anybody who speaks Spanish know that Hispaniola don't mean small Spain. But we all intellectual repeats it. But that's not our subject. Let's go on. So we could count nearly 4,000 years of existence of Haiti. Then the invading by Euro-Christian slavers. So for Haiti, 312 years of enslavement. And then we whipped their behind, and not just one army. We whipped the Spanish army, whipped the French army, whipped the British army, and declare our independence on January 1st, 1804. And our ancestor, General Jean-Jacques Dessalines, knew enough about the history of the island to rename it Haiti, as it was named previously.
Powerful.
So, if I take 312 years out of 4,000 years of existence, the value of slavery, 312, let's round the numbers. 4,000 years, I take away 300 years, that leaves me with 3,700 years of freedom experience.
Yes.
So 300 years of slavery is just a moment in my life. It means nothing. It's just a bad experience. You fell, you broke your arm, you hurt your face, and 6 months later, you can't even remember. Done. But what did they do? After independence, 52 years after independence, the church came back in and made us sign a paper that says in Article 12 that the church has monopoly over public education, public instructions. So what happened? So they lost militarily, but then when they come back as the church, creating a school that teaches us that we are slaves, always have been slaves, can't be
today,
slaves.
Till this day, that history has followed us, followed our generations. You begin to, oh my God, Professor. Happy Independence Day, honestly.
Happy Independence Day to all of the family throughout our planet.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Professor.
So,
Professor, it is like we have the most greatest speech. It's in our playlist on Pan-African Daily TV channel. You can click it, Professor Bayyinah's playlist, exactly the one that you spoke and said, you cannot teach people spirituality, because every single thing. Professor.
Yes, ma'am. So, when we take Africa, who has over 40,000 years of recorded history, when you take away, well, if we round it up to 2,000 years of enslavement, so you take 2,000 out of 40,000 years of experience, what does it mean? It means nothing if the history is properly written and they are not drilling into the brain of each African. Africans are slave, Africans are slave, Africans are slave. The minute you can free your mind from that enslaving mentality, you can build countries like, it will look like magic.
Yes. Ooh. This is it.
But the key is to free your mind. The first revolution, the biggest revolution, the most important revolution is the revolution that Bayyinah must do inside Bayyinah's head. Go in Bayyinah's mind and take your most powerful weapon and chase away all the conceptions and perceptions of Euro-Christians in your brain. Do this job for yourself, and you
Mm.
would have done a great job for the planet.
Free your mind by drinking the freedom soup. If you cannot drink the freedom soup, you cannot prepare it. Please make sure you support the movement of Fondation Felicity. Professor Bayyinah has, I mean, like, I'm not saying work, has been on this mission for 40 plus years. I mean, I pray someday that we can even just be on our life missions, just enough to be able to, to speak with no fear of favor, because you know it, you own it, you have it. You want to free yourself. You see, these are freedom products. Drink the freedom soup. Professor, I saw the pot of the one of Ethiopia be at the Battle of Idowa. It is exposed that the freedom soup pot. And I was telling you this thing, like, isn't it the same thing? Because Haitians were there to support that Battle of Adwa. Is it not normal that this thing of this freedom soup, and we are not drinking it, we go about drinking some kind of crazy stuff that even make us get some diarrhea here, we don't know. Drink your freedom soup, please. Before you want to know this, let me just play how to do it. Let me put up a video where Professor Bayyinah showed us how to make your soup in a very super spatial way. I'm telling you, Professor, you are something.
Got another secret for you. A soup secret. Do you know that you must clean your journey? You know that's pumpkin, but we call it what we call it in Haiti. So learn the word journey. So we clean our journey real good, scrub it real nice, because we're going to cook with the skin. Cut it into 4, put it to boil, and when it's done, you can either do the blender or grater or whatever, you smash it, and that's how you start your soup. That's how you get all the ingredients, all the vitamins, all the potassium, all the enzymes that are in your journey, and make the best possible soup. So that was today's secret. Keep the skin in the soup. Take care.
Professor, you are just beautiful inside out. Every day I pray in the name of Professor Bayyinah Bello to stay like this at every time in my life. Professor.
All right. Let me add this. If you go to the Freedom Soup, if you go to the website, you donate. After the donation, you'll see it. You can click so you can get the booklet that will teach you exactly how to make the soup and also give the story of Empress Felicity. So get the booklet after you give your donation. Just go ahead and click and get the booklet so that you have the information on hand how to prepare a good, healthy, nutritional, independent soup, and enjoy it.
Enjoy it. Freedom soup.
If you'll allow me, it's time for me to close.
Yes.
I will say this. On Independence Day, and it's also part of our Constitution, Dessalines says, I take the universe as my witness as I declare this land a land of freedom for all of our people. So Haiti's independence was not declared for the island. The man was already foreseeing the time when other Blacks will also free themselves from enslavement. That's a very important element. Now, the second thing I want to share with you is that if you go and research it, you will find that in these United States of America, there are at least, at one time I did this research 20 some odd years ago, 11 localities or little cities called Haiti. But they usually spell it Hayti, the same way as the kingdom was spelled. Okay, Hayti. And you will find that the history is almost the same. It's like a group of blacks who fought, tried to free themselves, and they named that space Haiti 11 times on this one country. So Haiti is a very powerful word. And it is a word that we have found in many African languages, though Haiti, Dessalines chose to name it from the Arawak language that was there before. But we do have Haiti in many African languages. So there too, do the research, and each time it's a very powerful word. So please allow me to rush off.
Yes.
Continue with my sister who's doing a fantastic job. I wish you, I know people say, Happy New Year, happiness, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. I don't have any of this, that's not my language. I say to you, on the first day of the year, free your mind, build discipline, courage, determination. Learn to work with those who look like you. Yes, we are all imperfect. That's the truth. I'm not perfect. Neither is Susan. None of us, not even yourself. But if we are determined to work with each other and apply the 7 principle of Kwanzaa, do business with each other, buy and sell from each other, support each other, donate to causes. I donate, I don't care. It's small. I could give $5 here, $2 there, $10 because I don't have much. But whatever cause that I feel is what it's a way of saying to the person, I see you, sister. I see you, brother, and I want to support you. So if I have $5, I give 5, and on the day I have 50, I'll give 50. But supporting each other is vital. Make it a duty. Have a wonderful year with great accomplishment, always remembering that you are unstoppable. Set your vision high. Put in your discipline. Don't be afraid to work even when you're alone. Go ahead. Victory is around the corner because you are unstoppable. Thank you.
Bayyinah, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Professor. Thank you so much. Thank you. We're going to get our next guest right here in front of us. Is Brother Dennis Boatwright from the Center for Pan-African Studies in Detroit, USA. And he's actually going to continue on the same spirit like Professor Bayyinah, to say the faith in the work that we do is unmatchable. It's unmatchable. So we really want to thank Professor Bayyinah for this. I don't even know how I can say it, but of course you felt it. You caught it. All right. You embraced it. And let's go with Brother Dennis, but right, this champion, son of Africa, the son of Africa right here. This son of Africa. I mean, I don't know how I can describe him, but you simply just need to go, whether it's his Facebook account or YouTube account, you just put his name as you see there, you are going to get him. I mean, Detroit in the house. You see the Detroiters, Rod Spears. I'm telling you, that's the spirit and the unity in Detroit. I'm telling you, we all are going to Detroit in September because the spirit, that's the place I got my ancestral download. It's impossible. You see, Ron Spears was here. Now, Dennis is here and he's backing each other up. I'm telling you, the spirit in the city, it's undescribable. Thank you so very much. And the wife, the family, I know Zuri is going to be watching. If he's not late, Nairobi is going to be watching. If he's not late, they've been going to all the ancestral graves, cleaning, putting flowers, doing everything necessary. I'm telling you, this spirit that we have here and that we're entering or we're beginning this new calendar year, instead of 4, we write 5. It's a beautiful thing to be. Welcome, brother. Welcome.
Welcome, and it is a pleasure to be on your show, especially to follow behind Dr. Bayyinah. You know, you, Dr. Ericana, and Bayyinah, Dr. Bayyinah are my favorite queens. So it's a pleasure to be on here, your show.
Wonderful, wonderful. Brother Dennis, you did not even hesitate when I just reached out this morning, I think, and I said, hey, King, I want you here because I see the faith that you put in the community work out there in Detroit. You know, I follow you every time. When you drop something, I'm the first person. Before you even finish typing, I'm already loving it. Either you are in the library with the kids, teaching the children about, their ancestral history, or you are cleaning the glyphs, or you are putting flowers at the house of Dr. Henry Clark, Malcolm X, all these ancestors. I mean, like just called and chosen for this mission. What is the faith that keeps you going? What is it that keeps you going, regardless of all the challenges you've been that the Facebook have brought down your Facebook page and your pages a couple of times. You've met a lot of challenges, but you never give up. You say, "No, I'm called to do this." And you do it with no support. You've never called for support. You and your wife, Sade, and the kids, just a family that is dedicated even to donating books and everything. Tell us the secret, brother.
Well, the big secret is that I have African in my blood, and I have confidence and love of our people. And this really what drives me daily to liberate our people and help us get back to glory where we were once at in the past. But I've been asked that question many of times, and even my wife, she said, even my kids, one of their best word is Africa. They think everything is Africa, because I say it so much. But I'm motivated I feel that it's my calling in life, yes, especially from the ancestors, to continue the great works. If you mentioned Dr. Clark and Dr. Yosef Ben Yakanan, I feel like personally, that's the mission that I was put on here, to revitalize the work that they have done in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. But over the years, people began to start forgetting about who Dr. John Henry Clark, who is Asa Hilliard, Chancellor Williams. So I feel like this is what some of the passion that you see in me, in my spirit, is that I feel like this is my personal calling in life, to continue the work of our great ancestors.
Thank you. This is just the time. And now you are on the mission of the Brothers of Sahel. I mean, like literally, Traore is your role model right now in the process. Tell us more.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up, because Dr. Susan Tata, I'm surprised that more platforms are not talking about the Alliance of Sahel States. In fact, I find myself, even amongst Black people, that had to defend the integrity of the moves that are being made by Ibrahim Traore and Chiani and Abdur Rahmani Chiani and Simi Gota. But I say this to say, and I'm glad you brought that up here, is because what's happening is, I posed the question, why aren't we talking about the Alliance of Sahel State? Other than Dr. Ericana and Dr. Your show, not too many people are talking about the Alliance of Sahel State as passionately as they supposed to. But I come across a document in my research this morning. Before I talked to you earlier, I got up this morning and I come across a memorandum 46 that was put out by the National Security Council, Memorandum 46, and it mandates the U.S. government, the State Department mandated in 1978, it mandated the CIA and the FBI to create hostility and mistrust amongst African Americans and the continent of Africa. Not too many people know about this program. Many of us know about COINTELPRO and what happened and how it was the FBI had a department where they were meant to undermine and discredit Black leaders. Many of us know that, but in 1978, a more robust memorandum was put out by the National Security Council, Memorandum 46, that mandated the CIA and the FBI to make sure that you and I don't talk to each other or be on cordial terms. So this kind of explains to me why so many people, including colleges and even African Center or pro-Black conscious groups, are not talking about the Alliance of Sahel states, because the U.S. government has earmarked hundreds of millions of dollars each year to make sure we are not on cordial relations. So this explains why many people are not talking about the Alliance of Sahel states. Now, getting to the Alliance of Sahel states, the Alliance of Sahel states caught many people off guard because we have been out of power for so long as a people. We cannot recognize power. And when we are on the cups of power, we have a tendency to start displaying many type of insecurities when it's time to assume power. We don't know what to do. When I say about insecurities, we start having unfounded skepticism about any African country that is coming to power. But when you look at it in the context of how long we've been out of power, it's kind of understandable, but it's not an excuse. It's kind of understandable that we create these type of, we lack confidence when it comes to Black people being in power. So when I bring up the fact of the matter, when I say that the Alliance, when I say Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger have our independent Black countries, automatically Black people think that they are dictators, they are warlords, they're all type of, without even doing any type of investigation or research on this matter. But the Alliance of Sahel states has created an inflection point for people of African descent. And when I say an inflection point, I mean a time of rapid change in a short period of time, which means that how we respond in this reflection point is going to determine positively or negatively our fate in the next 80 to 100 years. So it's very important for us to understand the Alliance of Sahel states, because if we allow this, the Alliance of Sahel state not to succeed, we can only fault our own selves.
This I'm sorry, this freedom movement in the 21st century, by Africans, pioneered by Africans in a collective effort, is unstoppable. It is, like you said, we have been out of power for far too long that we don't know how power tastes. We've forgotten for so long, like Professor was telling us, they've constantly reminded us that you can never be powerful, you are slaves. And that's why the history keeps remembering. And even up till now, talking about decolonization processes, you still have to go through that subjugation, like it's just a pacifier. It's just something that even the reparations that we're talking about is still a trick and a distraction. How much reparation can any person on earth pay for the restoration of Africa? For instance, if they pay us today, it's just going to be like, okay, we did that. We can abuse them and pay. It's like the laws in the court. There is no amount of reparation that can undo the process that we've gone through. But the good news, like you were saying, is it is unstoppable. The period is now from the ancient times to the period of recreation of the continent. Mother Earth, Mother Africa is rebirthing itself, whether we like it or not. So the Sahel Alliance is a process that is actually spiritually put underway. Just like all of us that are chosen and called into this mission. Nobody puts up his hands and say, I want to do this. Like I ask you, you just doing it. It feels so honoring and so humbling to do it. Ron Spears was here. He showed us all these examples. You could feel the vibe when you are on this mission. Nobody is going to tell us, oh, we know the pastoralpreneur, we know the Pan-Africanpreneur. But when it comes to the mission, like I said, I feel you, brother. We connect on that essence of spirituality, that this is the real thing. Now, how would you advise our communities out there? I know you said it on your last show and you were very clean and clear on the point. All the diasporans in the different countries have to start holding this government in their country of residence accountable, just like what you're saying. Am I correct?
Yes. And before I answer that, you brought up the thing about reparations. No people can repair us, but we got to repair our own selves. No amount of money, as you said, is going to repair us. It's something that we have to do our own selves. And getting to one of the things when I was talking to some of the ambassadors of the Sahel states in Washington, D.C., I visited their embassy, and they told me what they only want from us in diaspora is they want us to raise the awareness of the true reality of what's going on in the Alliance of Sahel state, because there's so much misinformation being put out there, and there's also a blackout on what's going on in the Alliance of Sahel states. You have many scholars that I've talked to personally, prominent scholars, and they told me they don't have a clue of what's going on in the Alliance of Sahel states. And this is one of the reasons why is because the West see Pan-Africanism in its operational form as a threat.
Yes.
And they have Anthony Blinken in this past September, the Secretary of State, he made it clear. He said we must oppose all Pan-African news sources. And then the very next week after he made that proclamation, we saw that African Stream was taken off of YouTube as well as Instagram and Facebook and what have you, because African Stream, among other things, is the epitome of a Pan-African news station. And they were saying quite correctly favorable things about the Alliance of Sahel state. So this is one of the reasons why we're not hearing so much about the Alliance of Sahel states, because the West are opposing it. But there are a few people, including one of your viewers is named Charles Mitchell, you may call him Asukile, and we have drafted the letter that we're taking to the Congressional Black Caucus, as well as the minority leader, Mr. Jeffries, Hakeem Jeffries, and we're going to personally hand him a letter, and we want the U.S. government to explain to us why our taxpayers' dollars are used to destabilize 3 African nations in the Sahel region. We have facts, we have the resources, and we're willing to go testify in front of Congress so that our representatives that know that there are constituents here in the United States in particular that oppose our taxpayer money being used to undermine 3 African countries in the Sahel region.
Absolute. That's the point. That's the point. I saw it. I think Brother Charles wrote out to me, and that's a fantastic move. I mean, I cannot even say more. When I saw, even though he told me that he's in the building right now, he said, Brother Charles is in the building. Oh yes, like I mean, we have all the conscious original sons and daughters of Africa. We are mixed. Some people, and like I said, it's not everybody that has to be on the mission. It's okay, that's fine. It only took 12 disciples for them to spin the whole thing around. So that's why we keep talking about our 12-12 movement. It took only in the story of Jesus and 12 disciples to colonize the whole structure and disengage everything. So it is not just many. Go ahead with the document. All of us, everybody is willing to sign that petition and to back you up in everything that you say. You said it here. Did they ask you when you went to the embassy of Burkina Faso? I saw you there with the delegation and all the appointments that they give to you. Did they tell you, no, donate money and come and give to us? No, do this and this? Did they ask you for money? Because that's what is stuck in our brains when it comes about Africa. Everybody just hear only, no, we have to help, or we have to support, or we have to do this. Am I correct?
You're exactly correct. They didn't ask for any money. The only thing that they said, the role that they want to play, is us to educate the American people about the true reality of what's going on in the Alliance of Sahel states. Because we know through education, by raising people conscious and awareness, we know that more people is going to be get involved and putting pressure on the legislators here to explain to stop funding operations through Ukraine and many other proxies they use. So they just want us to just raise awareness and do what you're doing, Dr. Susan Tata. I know that I'm going to send them a copy of this. I know they're going to be happy for the platform that you have allowed us to talk about the Alliance of Sahel State. But I want to make an observation that I've been wanting to say for a while, particularly during the Kwanzaa. And I tell people this: the Alliance of Sahel States personifies in reality all 7 principles of Kwanzaa, starting from Umoja, Kuji, Chakali, Ujima, Ujama, all the way down to Imani. They personifies that. It's not an abstraction anymore. We have 3 African countries that are practicing Kwanzaa. So I tell people that this Kwanzaa, we should have earmarked part of our program about the Alliance of Sahel States. It's the real deal. And I tell people this, and we're talking about Imani, for example, and I touched upon it earlier, is that when we talk about Imani, faith, the 7th principle of Kwanzaa, we're talking about faith. In order for Black people to see, not just in the Alliance of Sahel States, but we're talking about the total of Africa and in our future, we have to have faith and confidence in ourselves. Like Marcus Garvey said, if you don't have faith, you lost. But with faith, you have won half the battle already. But our people lack faith in ourselves. And this is why I brought up the point that when it comes to assuming power, we have a tendency to mismanage it because of insecurities. Yes. We don't think that Black people can rule over themselves. We don't think Black people have the mental and the emotional capacity to govern themselves. So when we see things, that's why I tell people, I can talk to an audience about Wakanda, the movie, Wakanda. And they'll be laughing, they'll be clapping and everything. But when I talk about the Alliance of Sahel State, everybody get quiet. But they're happy about the movie. But so I'm telling them that we have a real live, almost Wakanda-like situation that's happening in the Alliance of Sahel States, but nobody is talking about it. But we know why. We know why they're not talking about it. But Kwanzaa, especially Kwanzaa, is a golden opportunity for us to talk about the Alliance of Sahel State, because we're talking about every principle of Kwanzaa. They personify, they're practicing it, especially Umoja, Kuji Chakalias,
collective economy, everything. But that's what Professor just said. That's what Professor Bayyinah just said. Every single thing, all is included. You're correct.
We haven't had this really, and I'm gonna be honest. And I talked to scholars this morning I was on a call with a scholar out of Pennsylvania, and we were saying that what we see in the Alliance of Sahel States in terms of Black people taking taking control of their destiny, we haven't really seen that since the 25th dynasty, when we're repelling foreigners from our land and taking control of our natural resources. We haven't seen that. And Dr. Clark, he had called that our last walk in the sun, which is almost 2,600 years ago. That's not to discount other, the Ghana, Mali, and Songhai Empire. But what I'm saying is we have been out of power for so long that had created some type of psychosis amongst us when it comes to governing ourselves. Now, we will accept, just for example, I'm looking at what's happening, the unfortunate situations that's happened in the Middle East, especially in Syria, when the people, they kind of got rid of Bashar al-Assad. And everybody was applauding that. But nobody is applauding the fact that Abdul Rahmani Chiani got rid of Mohammed Bazoum out of Niger, who was selling uranium for 80 cents per kilogram when it goes for $220 a kilogram. Nobody is celebrating and applauding the leadership of the Alliance of Sahel states for getting rid of those puppets that were in power. But we're applauding what happened in Syria. We are happy that, many people are happy that Bashar al-Assad is finally gone. But nobody's happy that Captain Ibrahim Traore and Assimi Gota and Chiani got rid of those dictators and those puppies. Nobody's clapping about it. So I find that kind of disturbing and saddening, how we're not applauding the revolutions that happened in amongst the Alliance of Sahel states, but yet we're applauding what happened to what's going on in Syria.
I think it is very easy to understand, brother. It's very easy to understand that, those are signs. Those are typical signs to show you how powerful we are, how just a little bit is difficult to accept the defeat. And that's how this freedom movement, we talked yesterday with Dr. Tony Jaja, and that's exactly how the independence movement came about. It never happened at once. We're not expecting it to just happen. But that mistake that ECOWAS made, that gave us the victory, that is the mistake. And you see, it keeps going down and down and down. And Nigeria is truly in trouble being the leader of that ECOWAS. You see, Chad is now on board. Senegal is now on board recently. And once those walls and those blocks keep breaking down, forming into this, what do we see? That's the one Africa state that we see. So when we're talking about faith, like what you're saying, it takes a lot of faith, not just that we've even stayed out of touch or power, but it takes even faith to believe that we can be great again. True?
Correct. And that's why you have your TV show, because we have faith in ourselves. We know we are great people. And we know throughout history, there's cycles where some people are up and some people are down. We've been down, but we know that we're not going to be down forever. And we have faith in our people that we're going to liberate ourselves, and we're going to have an Africa that we all want. So this is what is, when we look at it, Black, people of African descent are very special. When you look at what we have been through, we have been through slavery, not just Europeans, but all other type of people slavery. We have been, we have been colonized. We have been invaded. We have been lynched. We have been discriminated against in the banking system, in real estate, in the hospital, in the healthcare. We have been all that, but yet we still rise. And yet you and I and many people who are watching your show now have the courage to talk positively about Africa. Because I'm going to tell you this. See, the State Department knows the difference. They want us to be talking about, the same type of leaders every year. And, they want us to do the cultural symbolic expression of Black unity. But when you're talking about Pan-Africanism, which is it's
a taboo.
Right, which is a operational manifestation of unity, they get scared. But they're going to allow us to play the drums. They're going to let me put my Jaisiki on, all of those things, because there's non-threatening. But when you're talking about doing things like Ibrahim Traore is doing, there's a problem. And that's why the State Department, well, not just the State Department, but the Journal of Economic War in Europe put out an article saying that Pan-Africanism is the biggest threat to European hegemony. It's not. It used to be like communism or Islam. Now Pan-Africanism is the big boogeyman of the West. And there's a reasons why There's reasons for this. So I'm just, I'm actually thrilled. I never thought in my lifetime that I will be talking about one African nation being independent. Now we have 3 within a couple of years. And I tell people, if you're going to, you know how they say, if you're going to turn up, let's turn up about the formation of the Alliance of Sahel State. That's something that we should party and make a holiday, because we have Africa that's reasserting itself at a time when we need her to do it the most. Now it is the challenge to us. What are we going to do to help the Alliance of Sahel State succeed? As you said, and like I say, one thing, getting off into the spiritual realm, the Creator is control of everything. And the Creator loves righteousness. And what's going to happen is we're on the side of right. And what's going to happen is, whether we help them or not, Africa is going to rise, because Africa is the mother of civilization. She's the mom. So it is quite natural that we're going to rise on ourselves. And I say this to Dr. Susan Tata, is this. You mentioned Senegal showing in leanings towards the AES. You saw Chad sending delegations to Alliance of Sahel State. And believe it or not, we also have Ghana saying the little things, and Botswana. So Africa is in the air. This is going to be the year. This is going to be the century of Africa. And I like to quote, it's a guy, everybody know William Buffett, the billionaire in the United States, Warren Buffett.
Yes.
I mean, Warren Buffett said something interesting. This is when he was on CNBC. He said if he had to start all over again in terms of investor, he said, I'll start in Africa. This is what Warren Buffett said. So Africa is back on stage. We're like Atlanta, Atlanta in the United States. We're like Atlanta in the 90s now. Everybody is talking about Africa except for Black people. There's a reason why you have superpowers conducting cold wars against each other, because they want to control what's in Africa. Just give you example, and I don't, so Doctor, you could get to another question or something. Africa has enormous wealth. And they say that just in the Congo, for example, in the ground, they say there's $27 trillion in worth of minerals in the ground. And you can times that by 10 if we had the refining capacity to make these minerals into finished products. And they say that just in the Congo alone, they have perhaps potentially $300 trillion just in the ground. Africa, and just in one country. So Africa is on stage, but everybody else is taking advantage of it except for people of African descent. Everybody is talking about Africa except for us and people like Dr. Ericana, PLL Lumumba, Joshua Umponga, but most of people are not saying this. So I want to challenge all the institutions in the United States, the think tanks, the college, the Black Studies departments, the African Studies departments, the African Student Union clubs on each college. I challenge all of you to start talking about the Alliance of Sahel States in your meetings, in your curriculum right now. Because if we don't do this now, our grandkids, great grandkids is going to regret it. And they're going to be angry at us because that we didn't take advantage of this inflection point that we find ourselves in.
Wow. See, brother, you're speaking and my blood is charging. This is the spirit of Africa. This is it. This is exactly. I want us to be so charged up. Like we have no business than drumming this every day on Pan-African Daily here. I mean, we have sacrifices every day, non-stop. We're streaming every day, non-stop, no matter how tired. If I'm not live, you should come live. If you're not coming live, anyone has to come live. And it is about this Pan-Africanism. They're going to listen to it until you would not even love to hear it again. The Alliance of Sahel, it's the door opener. And it's been there and it's not going to change. And we have to run with this word. We have to speak it every day, sing it every day. Songs need to be created every day on it. Create Afrobeats, hip hop, rap, everything about the Sahel Alliance, reggae music, every single thing. We need to do it. Whether it's gospel music or spirituality, we need to do it. Is the time now. And this 2025, I'm telling you, starting today, we are on it. We are on it because the power is in the diaspora, brother. The power is in the diaspora. I used to tell you, I mean, all of you that are watching me from the continent, you can bear that with me. We looked up to you when we were growing. When we were growing up on the continent, we looked up to African Americans like gods. Like you were, I mean, like even without connecting spiritually or consciously, you have always been the role model. You have always been the role model. But it's not only in America, even in Europe. I'm telling you, I used to do shows to the African migrants that came from the continent just to be able to get a favor in Germany or to even date a woman. You had to pretend to be an African American. You had to pretend to do some kind of rap, wear your baggy and some kind of stuff. And the German girls or the blondines or the other, everybody would just fall at your feet because just that brand, an African American, is a powerful brand because they understand this power in that system. They understand what America is today is because of that. That's why we keep knocking. And like 2025, we have to be intentional. Like Stevie is saying, we need to be intentional on these things. We need to and for me, I said for 2025, I want to even forget about the continent Africa. Us in the diaspora is where the power is. And we need to every single day make this work.
And you know what, Dr. Susan Tata, you're correct. And I want to commend you for your energy. I mean, you serious, you very serious. And as I say, I admire you just as much as I admire Dr. Ericana. And but I say this to say you're right. The diaspora plays a big role, but the diaspora, unfortunately, in the United States are not unified. We're not even having conferences yet on the subject of the Alliance of Sahel State. And some of them don't even really want to talk about it because they lack the knowledge to make an informed opinion. But me and Charles Mitchell, getting back to my buddy Asakile.
Yes.
We right actually, what we're trying to do is we're trying to open up a diaspora embassy in Detroit, Michigan. We have looked at a building and we want to make that a diaspora embassy under what they have, the African Union, which you call the 6th region. Diaspora, we represent the 6th region. So we were going to open up a very prestigious looking building and make it a diaspora embassy because right now Africa is rising and we need all the diplomatic connection and relations we can. So we need a building so that people in America who care about Africa, especially Pan-Africanists, we could come together. We could turn the embassy to a business hub if we have to. Yeah, we want to try to turn that embassy to a business hub as well. And we also we're going to invite diplomats and ambassadors from the embassies in Washington, D.C. So what we have to do here on our end in the diaspora, not just in America, but even in Germany or even in South America, we need everywhere. We need official diasporian embassies to be open and functional so that we can come there and strategize and plan and give conferences, meeting when we feel it is necessary. But we need our own headquarters. And so this is what we're doing in Detroit, the Center for Pan-African Studies. We have located a building that we're trying to procure, and we're going to make that into a diaspora embassy because Africa is growing, and it's going to be, Africa is growing very fast. It's more, as you mentioned, Chad, Senegal, also Botswana is saying things, and even kind of Ghana kind of saying some few things because there's pressure being put on the other African leaders to change their style of leadership and start running their governments in more of the interests of people of African descent. So we need some embassies, and we need people who understand political science, because what's happening is we're in a phase now where Pan-Africanism is in great demand. Because what about when Africa does get its power? Are we going to have enough personnel, enough people who understand statecraft, enough people who understand political science? Because what I tell some of my friends is that we can't all just be historians. We can't all just be psychologists and sociologists. We need political scientists who can be able to give an informed analysis of the Alliance of Sahel State. And not just the Alliance of Sahel State, we're talking about the whole continent of Africa is actually waking up rapidly. So we have to be prepared. We have to have the right people who's going to know how to engage with the continent of Africa on a government level. So it is very important. I'm glad you brought up what is the importance of having the diaspora's help. And we can do that starting off by organizing ourselves there. And the best way to do that is getting a diaspora embassy, especially here in Detroit, because we 80-something% Black people. Yes, we're a large city, so that's a great place to start. Because when people come to Detroit, first thing they tell me is that they want to see all the Black people, in here, in Detroit. So I show them, and I be like, well, most of the Black people is not downtown. You got to go to the hoods, the neighborhoods. But my point is, that's what we're doing, Dr. Susan Tata, and you actually are helping us. You're helping Africa get back on its feet.
The idea of embassies, I proposed the ideas here in Germany before COVID, and that's why I think everything we're doing now is just the right thing, because we started that. We had already looked for a location because of the events we used to do, but it takes a collective. It takes a collective to realize that. And I think this is just the right time that it's happening. Look at the way the whole systems are set up. Just take the Catholic Church. We know Professor James Moore has told us a couple of times the Catholic Church is a nation on its own, just like you have the nation of Islam on its own, right? I mean, we know about Brother Sizzler that is always talking about the nation of Islam. That's an ambassador for that structure. You understand? So it is a need, it's a must, because representation is number one key. Representation is number one. And then because we already should be prepared, we're already taking over. But where are the structures? Like you said, by the time we are done with this thing, we need a lot of volunteers. We need a lot of, even when we talk about building our banks or collecting for, how do we do it without a structure? That is the thing. We need to be so structured, and it goes exactly with these embassies. It doesn't matter, even if you started just as a home office already. Just like a home office, data is very important. People need to know, okay, how do I register? You already have the Center for Pan-African Studies, right? How do we register? How do we do? Just simple things with newsletter is what we're putting up. And once we set up the centers, we multiply it all over the world. We name our ambassadors all over the world, and we put our funding process over. Game over. Nobody is stopping us from doing these things. We are the ones not taking that responsibility enough. Oh, we've never believed in it will happen. Like, we know people that have said 400 years, China was built 300 years before it became like this. So Africa need 200 years. We don't need no 200 years. We don't need it because we are united. We are united. We are free. The problem is the structures. They don't see it. When we say we are united, where is the structure? Show me, like Brother Ron Spears was saying, show me the evidence. Show me your ticket. So once we have exactly like you have all these churches, embassies, ministry of this, exactly, Pan-African embassies have to be everywhere. And we're not changing the word. It's Pan-African embassies everywhere in the diaspora. And I think that's a noble thing. As we're speaking, literally, we can already start it.
You
So
know
I'm
what, Dr.
so happy. Mhm.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought, Dr. Tata.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. It was
You
okay.
know, I was going to say there is a counter current that's going on in around the world, especially in America, and that is we have groups who are anti-black themselves, and they're saying that they call themselves sometimes foundational blacks. They say they're not from Africa. We never from Africa. We didn't come from Africa. So we have people, and I'm not going to say the name, they're promoting this notion that the black people in America, a significant percentage of us, are not connected to Africa. So we have counter trends. We have positive things that's happening in the United States, but there's also some negative trends coming about where these pop-up groups, they're claiming that they have no connection with Africa and that they were here even before, the Aboriginal Indians. But my point is they are vehemently opposed to Pan-Africanists, and they don't like to use the word Pan-African in any of their conversations. And these are people that I'm talking about on a regular basis. So what's happening is because there's not a strong Pan-African presence, and many of our warrior scholars are kind of advanced in age, they don't have people out there to refute some of these ideas that we don't come from Africa and we came on the Mayflower and we were here before Indians and we have nothing to do with Africa. And you have people who are coming up with these clever ways to deny the African bloodline. And this is, and I'm seeing even in Black History Month, they have their own Black History Month programs and everything.
I'm going to be on speaker, please.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is there are counter trends in there, but they can't stop Africa. This is Africa time. And what happens is we have the momentum on our side. Even there's so many security structures and apparatus around Alliance of Sahel states that's making it almost impossible for them to destroy the Alliance of Sahel states. Because we know you got Western governments, they're trying to kill Ibrahim Traore already. And within a 2-year period, he has 18 assassination attempts on his life. So they're trying to get it, but they can't stop it.
I'm sorry, Brother Charles is live on the show. Yes, brother, go ahead. It's like
Hotep Africans.
Hotep, brother. Hotep.
I must have a time delay on my. I'm watching. Didn't speak, and so he was just speaking. But yeah. So he was talking about the. He didn't want to say names, but I'm gonna say names. The Foundational Black Americans Group and ADOS, the American Descendants of Slaves. I hate that name. Folks are talking about our story, and they may know. So I've heard some folks go into great detail into their family personal story, but there's a deeper African story that folks don't want to deal with. The folks that were here, the indigenous people of America, they were African people. All of our anthropology and paleontology is telling us that life, the earliest source of life that we can find of hominids is in Africa. And from there, it dispersed throughout the land, throughout the lands. And so the Aboriginal people here started out in Africa. There were several other incursions. The Egyptians, the Kemetic people had expeditions where they traded back and forth with the Africans that had populated the Americas. Mansa Musa and his people came and traded with the people that we know as the original people of what we call the Americas. And then, of course, we know about the enslaved population of Africans that was captured most recently and brought here. So these people are Africans, but they want to act like there's something totally different from their mama and their father. So we have to get them to tell the whole truth, to study the whole history and raise up, because what happens to us here affects what's going on. Like we just had in here in New York, New York State has a commission looking at reparations. And we had all these people talking about anti-Caribbean sentiment, that you're sharing their anti-Caribbean sentiment, anti-African sentiment. Yes, we do have some brothers and sisters that recently came that took advantage of the struggle of the Africans that were here, which is the folks that we consider African Americans, but also folks like Malcolm X, folks like Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture, and others, Marcus Garvey, who were here more recently from the Caribbean. They engaged in that civil rights, human rights struggle as well. And so, but these folks that came most recently are taking advantage or took advantage, this is the 70s, 80s period, took advantage of the struggles of the Africans that were here during that period of from the 1900s up into the 50s, 60s to get affirmative action and all and the different amendments, the Civil Rights Acts and so on, to open up opportunities for the Africans that was here struggling and seeking freedom, justice, and equality, to be able to get all those things that Brother Small says: food, shelter, safety, security, right? And so the America purposely brought in or allowed in Africans from the Caribbean, the Africans from the continent who was not engaged in that struggle and therefore didn't have context. And so they used them as a wedge to keep us out, those who have struggled so intensely for those freedoms, to keep us out of those positions. But they didn't really know the story because they don't tell the story over there, just like they don't tell the story of what's going on in the Caribbean over here or what's going on in Africa over here. They try to keep us in the dark about what each other is going through so that they can use us just like they did from the beginnings of colonialism, use us against each other in their game so that they can exploit us, so that they can exploit our minds and our minds, M-I-N-E-S, and our minds, M-I-N-D-S. They want to use our labor. They want to use Africa's mineral resources. They want to use our intellectual genius to build up their countries. And in order for them to do that, they have to keep us separated. So for us as Africans, what Dennis is talking about, having an African 6th region embassy open up is important because that would allow us as Africans to come and interface with each other, interact with each other, to share vital information that maybe the masses are not prepared, or it'd be dangerous to share with masses in the mind state that they are, and we could communicate with each other, figure out how we could build going forward in 2025 that African Renaissance that Dr. Jeffrey so eloquently speaks of all the time. It's important on us. Now, we are our generation, those of us in our 50s, those of us in our 40s, those of us in our 30s, those of us in our 20s, those of us in our teenage years. They keep young people engaged in dancehall, into this negative formation that they acculturated in hip hop and the other forms of music, the crunk, not crunk, what's the drill rap. They keep our young people high and in their emotional state. Young people are still, as they develop, they have their hormones raging, their minds are not fully, the frontal lobe is not fully developed. They're taking advantage of that because they know that our young people, if fully actualized as Africans, will be the most revolutionary force on the face of this earth and will bring about that African Renaissance. We have to remember, Stephen Biko wasn't a young man, wasn't an old man, excuse me, right? Our brother from Burkina Faso, he wasn't an old man. He was a young man. Patrice Lumumba wasn't an old man. Even Malcolm X at 39, he was not an old man. He started in his 20s. Martin Luther King was a young man. He started in his 20s, but they recognized his genius from as early on as 16 when he was in Morehouse, right? Kwame Ture was a young man. Fred Hampton was a young man. Mark Clark was a young man. Bunchy Carter was a young man. Sekou Odinga was a young man. All of these young brothers and sisters were young. They were teenagers. Some of them were barely 20, and they were the most revolutionary force, even amongst the white folks. The SDS was college students. The weathermen was college students that got fed up with trying to go the normal civil rights movement way that they were being taught was the way. This is why they keep our young people smoking this marijuana with elevated levels of THC. And then we know from studying the biochemical warfare at Edgewood Arsenal that when you increase the levels of THC that you induce into a person, it makes them docile. Edgewood Arsenal done experiments on American military soldiers because they were trying to see if they can use marijuana to incapacitate enemy soldiers. And so first they came up with something they call red oil, which I think was just a concentrated form of marijuana itself, you know, the CBD and all the other elements. But then they came up with two different strains of concentrated THC. The THC, when they gave it to the soldiers, they did a test and they actually did this video of it online. You can see they had the soldiers before THC. They asked them to read a paragraph or do some physical exercise, and they could do it perfectly well. Then when they introduced the THC into the soldiers' system, the soldiers couldn't even stand up. They had to stand. They had the system in standing up. They had to assist them in trying to read back paragraphs or do the physical exercises that they had did perfectly fine before that. And when we look at See, this one thing we have to understand, sister, is that the cracker don't give us nothing for our benefit.
Yes.
For years and years, they were arresting African American and Caribbean American brothers and sisters for weed and crack and all these things, but they did not differentiate whether it was weed or whether it was crack or whatever the other drug that they were selling. For years, they put our young brothers in jail and destroyed the lives of their family. And now they want to make marijuana legal.
Imagine.
Why do they want to make marijuana legal? Because they've elevated the levels of THC in the marijuana and to incapacitate our young warriors. To incapacitate our young warriors and make them useless to our struggle. And then by the time they start cutting back on marijuana stuff in their 30s or 40s, they'll already be useless to African people. So we have to make sure that we tell the truth to our young people. We have to make sure that we educate them on our story. We have to educate them in the values, interests, and principles of African people. We have to love on ourselves in 2025. And we have to have faith in ourselves in 2025 that we could be the leaders that we need for the African revolution, for the African struggle, for the African Renaissance.
Whew. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you. Over to you, brother Dennis.
You know what? First of all, I just like to thank Asakile Charles Mitchell for coming in here. And he brought up something, you know, just having his president brought something up to me. And I noticed this. And, you know, as I say, today is Dr. John Henry Clark's birthday. And this is really why I'm excited about.
Can you imagine? And it's the first again of January. This January is something.
It's
like
something
80.
It fires me up because this is Dr. Clark's birthday. And I just want to bring up Dr. Clark. What distinguished Dr. Clark is his integrity and his love for the people. And you can feel it when they say that you're around Dr. Clark and him and Dr. Ben, you feel sincerity. I bring this up to say, in order for us to operationalize unity, we have to have integrity and we have to have sincerity amongst each other. And I notice when me and Asakile are somewhere or even on your program, we're not competing with each other because we see each other as one. Because what happens is many groups often fall off into their own lane and they begin to see other Black groups as rivals. And a lot of times when that happens is it creates disunity because people are only worried about their own program or their own organization. And part of this happened is, and I was talking to an elder and he said a lot of people feel intimidated when they see a certain knowledgeable brother or sister that's coming there to speak because they don't have the right intention. That's why when I talk to Asakile or when I talk to you, Asakile can talk as long as he wants because we're going to say the same thing. We have the same spirit, as well as you, Dr. Susan Tata, or even Dr. Mama Bayyinah that was on it. So we have to have, it's not just being knowledgeable, but you have to have integrity and you have to have sincerity. If you don't have that, we're going to be acting like a team of rivals instead of a team of brothers and sisters in the struggle. So that's why I like your program, Dr. Susan Tata, and because you exude that. You have, I can see sincerity just glowing from your face, what you say, the type of, because you have some hard, tough neck guests coming over here, Marponga, Ericana, Dr. Leonard Jeffries. You don't play. So that's just a reflection of your sincerity, because a lot of people, they kind of admire Alliance of Sahel States, but they don't want to talk about it for whatever reason. But you, sister, you have the sincerity and the love of Africa that's needed more than knowledge. More than knowledge. We need sincere love for Africa, like Charles Mitchell, Asukile has exhibit when we're around each other. We don't compete with each other. I don't feel intimidated or insecure when I'm around Asukile or on your show, or even with the very bright and knowledgeable Mponga. Because we're not competing with each other. We're on the same team. And that's how we got to look at each other. If we don't look at each other as being on the same team, we're never going to get anywhere.
That's so profound, because I think even as we move forward, we have these challenges among ourselves, competition, amongst ourselves, who wants to do what, or what. Do we really need that? I mean, we have a big picture. We have gold, diamond, silver. We have everything to enrich and build this legacy for our children. We don't have time for competition. Competing against what? If we compete against each other, it's the same thing Professor Bayyinah just said here. It means you're literally competing against your own self, because we have that oneness and that strength. Of course, I brought a professor, how is he called again? This professor from Yaoundé, and he's the first one that started the Sahel Alliance lectures. He's a very renominated professor. He does European Center.
Can you post his name on there so we can look him up?
Yes, I will post it. He was here last year. I caught him and he came. He's a professor in Yaoundé University, but he teaches in Vienna. He's been teaching African studies in Vienna for more than 30 years. And that's the trick. They always get our big professors, our scholars from the continent to come to their university, teach them about these alliances so that they can know always how to plan against and work against them. Or the European students gain that knowledge, access to the knowledge that we don't. So when I met, he's called Professor Pondi. When I met Professor Pondi, I said, Professor Pondi, it's impossible that you go teaching in the schools for years, and Black communities, we don't have this knowledge and professional knowledge on topics like the Sahel Alliance. And he came to the show. We did it. I even have the links. I will share it with you. Very professional and strategic and to the point. Yeah. So, but you see, even you, Brother Dennis, your center for, thank you. I think that's what I just wanted to say. Your Center for Pan-African Studies is essential. I mean, we can do a background conversation that, like, we're not going to be exposing everything here. I think we can do a talk about how we set up these structures in the background or off here. But the essential thing is, of course, you started streaming also, because I think you have to do that. We have to be coming to your show. All the speakers that are speaking on Pan-African Daily TV has to come to your show as well, because that's how we're going to be doing the cross-border teaching. It's a spiritual connection thing against us, all right? So I think it is very necessary. It is very necessary that we connect and take our work forward. Tomorrow, we're going to have Professor PLO Lumumba live on the show. And I'm reminding you or the audience here to be 2 hours earlier. Because we have a 2 hours or two, almost 3 hours difference with East African time. So he's gonna be on the show 8 p.m. your time, because it's gonna be 12 p.m. because he's gonna do it 8 p.m. my time, right? No, not 8 p.m. his time, which is 6 p.m. my time. So it's going to be 12 p.m. your own time. Please, you don't have to miss it. Nobody has to miss that conversation tomorrow, because it is exactly, PLO is giving his agenda, the PLO Lumumba Agenda 2025 for the continent. I mean, he's been talking to all these leaders. For Traore, he's just there. We know he's there. They are there. All right. And we know that the power hand. But you can imagine countries like Mozambique, all these other nations that are actually going into tough war battles now, like Ethiopia and they're trying to broker the peace from the background, all these processes. He just sent me a couple of documents and letters that he's been writing, and we need to sign the petitions of that. But you see, we are just on time. I mean, I cannot believe that we, this generation, are on time. We're just on time in this freedom movement. Nothing can work against us. Brother Dennis, how can the continent support you? How can these scholars support the initiative that you're putting out there? I've already talked about the awards. We'll go community by community. We're not going to the continent with it. We're starting in the diaspora in America, community by community, mobilizing, honoring our people, and setting up these embassies. The headquarters in New York or wherever we want to put it. You have the African migrant community that is massive out there. Okay, so we have support, we have everything, whether it's volunteers or where to put our money or where to do what. We have the resources. We only need to put the structure. Our problem has always been the structure, and each person wants to do his own thing. Everybody wants to do his own thing individually. It's okay. People have built their organization. The time now is networking, collective work. That's what we talked about, Ujima. Collective. Now we are moving into the spirit of collectiveness with faith. We're going to do it.
Yes, thank you for giving me this opportunity to explain how people can help the Center for Pan-African Studies, and also there's another group called the Friends of the Sahel. But you can help the Center for Pan-African Studies by contacting me at director at the Center for Pan-African Studies, or you could call that number that Dr. Susan Tata.
Where's the number? I have to push it up again. Wait. Just continue. I'll put it up.
Yep, you can help us that way, because what we need to do is we need to find like-minded people who believe in Africa, who loves Africa, who's willing to put in work for Africa. So once we find like-minded people, then we can start organizing ourselves, and also getting, embassies in many big cities, not just in America, but in South America, in the Caribbean. We need embassies everywhere. But what's happening is many Pan-Africanists out there are not communicating with each other. We don't know each other exists. So you can go to the Center for Pan-African Studies.org, or you can call me at that number right there. That's the office number. Or you can use the email address and leave your name and how you can help, and your areas of interest, so that we can get to know each other. And we have that website designed for that, so that we can attract like-minded people who are ready to put work in. And we actually need your help. There's many things that we need your help. We also are organizing. We're taking groups of people to the Sahel, to Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. We have already spoken with the ambassadors and the charge d'affaires in each of the embassies. So we're working on taking groups of people of African descent in America, as well as college students, so that they can see how I feel to be standing on the soil of the independent African nation. And also me and Charles Mitchell, Asukile, sometime this month, we have put out some flyers and emails. We're having just a 30-member talk on Alliance of Sahel States, so we can know who we are, who each other are, get to know each other, as well as how we can connect and coordinate. But lastly, the last thing, Dr. Tata, my point is, in essence, is that we need to get to know each other. We need to know, get all like-minded people who share our vision. And once we attract like-minded people, we can pull our resources together, whether it's economically, whether it's intellectually, and then we can go from there. But we have to contact each other, and you could do it at the number that Dr. Susan Tata displayed, or preferably you can go on the website, or you can use the director at the Center for Pan-African Studies. And I'm just fired up. Like you say, Dr. Susan Tata, I never dreamed, I never even dreamed that we would ever see an independent African country in my lifetime. I've never saw, and we got three of them. We got three of them. So this is the best time to be a Black person. This is it. This is it. But we can't get nervous. We can't mismanage this opportunity. We got to be on top of our game, because if we want freedom, if we want respect, we have to take it. We have to take it by organizing ourselves and doing the right things. If nobody's going to give it to us, it's not going to be hard. It's not going to be easy to help the Alliance of Sahel states. But if we want to be a people that's independent, we got to do what's necessary. It's not going to be easy. But I'm going to tell you this. This is the best time to be Black, because Africa is back on stage.
This is the first time to be Black too. I mean, like, it feels how it feels after all the time, because we are actually in the reincarnation time of those days of the Malcolm X, and how it felt to be, a Black child on the street, just knowing that you have this program going on. I don't know why the internet is lagging a little bit. Is it on my side or on your side? But please, people, I just want to thank you, and I call on you to watch and watch. We're almost hitting 100 here. For the first time, when we started coming back live, I just want to appreciate you. Please click and like this conversation, like this program. Just click like on this program. We are 91. I mean, we're almost 100 and something. I mean, just from one source watching here, and we're going to hit 100 in the next couple of seconds going on now. So I really want to thank you, brother. We have to do this continuously.
Okay,
It has
lastly,
to be not just a one time.
I was just going to say also, Asukili brought that up, as well as my lovely wife, Sade Boatwright, that we also have a donation button on there. We're a tax exempt group, that if you want to donate to any initiatives in terms of especially procuring that building that we can name the Diaspora Embassy, you can go on the Center for Pan-African Studies.org, and there's a donation button, and that way that you can help out on some of the visions and some of the initiatives that we're talking about. And I just want to thank you, Dr. Susan Tata. I love your show, and thank you for having me on here. I'll be speaking at Eastern Michigan University the first day of Black History Month, February the 1st. And I'm going to be talking about the Alliance of Sahel States.
Send us the flyer. We're going to share it, and we'll ask everyone to join you on the set. I saw it already. I downloaded it. You'll be talking, and I think Brother Omar Johnson is also going to be on the show, isn't it? Is that the one?
Yeah, I'm going to be speaking first.
Yes, you have to share. You have to share the flyer with us. We're going to share it so much, and then put all the connections of the Center for Pan-African Daily, how people can donate. Like you see, Mama Bello did it. The Cash App, the Zelle, really structured, because this is the revolution, and we have to fund this revolution. We have to fund all this platform. It is, even if we have to take extra jobs, we had been saying it, to do that funding, because nobody's going to fund us. And we need money. We need so much money to be free, because the economy of freedom, the business of freedom, is what we African people and this generation and our children should be learning. The business of freedom is the biggest ever business on earth. and they go telling us, no, do a microphone, do a this. We said about it. There's nothing micro about the African. Nothing. That word should not even, the word should not even focus in or future in your vocabulary. There's nothing micro when it comes to us. Okay. So we need to fund the movement. We need to fund our projects. We need to collectively support one another. And I can guarantee you, brother, we're gonna link up the African migrant community, the African American community for this venture. Can you imagine Dr. Dr. Jeffries, Leonard, and Professor James, and all these elders cutting up the ribbon of the embassy out there, in honor of their work. Even Professor Bayyinah, they've been on the job for 60 years, on the freedom movement. Can you imagine that they will see you, the young generation that are picking after them, cut a ribbon to open up that embassy out there in honor of their work? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? That's going to be a game changer. That's a game changer.
Dr. Susan Tata, it's our time. Frantz Fanon said each generation must discover its mission. And we're the elders now. We're on stage now. It's our time to define what we believe is in our interest. And that's why we have to be the forefront. Obviously, we're going to have our elders, their energy and their wisdom there. But we're on deck now. Our age group is on deck now. And we know that our books is going about political and economic empowerment to add on to what our ancestors have said already. So we're on deck now, and it's our responsibility to take the movement to another level as we evolve into another stage. And you are at that forefront of that. I'm just so happy for you. My friend in London, he's a great fan of yours, Dr. Cadogan, and we talk about you a lot, and we just wish you well. We genuinely wish you well, Dr. Susan Tata. And anytime you need me, you said you want me to be in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa.
Yes.
You said in May or whenever, March or May. I'm going to try to be there.
No problem. This would be in December. Like I said, they shifted the program because the May Day is the Africa Day, and they said December would be cool for us. So we have enough time to prepare. But we are trying to see if we cannot do the May Addis, we're going to do Burkina Faso, Mali, or Senegal. Yes, like it is just the time. It is just the time. Like Jabal was saying something, Tariq. The Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is self-funded by Ethiopian diaspora bonds. Self-funded. So there's nothing we cannot do. We just need to get our structure together, because there's a lot of people, Brother Dennis, that don't know that your Center for Pan-African Studies exists. The problem is a lot of communication, exposure. That's why the media and the platforms that we're running is very essential. We have to bring back Pan-African Daily to that runner platform the way it used to be, and also outsource our multiple streaming sources so that we gather our people. That's our mission, and we're going to do it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. And
one last word?
Oh, no, you said it all. I want to let you finish with the last word. Thank you very much for having me on this show.
Thank you so very much. Greetings to the family, and we're together. Okay. Share the flyers and more information with us. Thank you.
Okay.
Asante sana. Good night. Wonderful people. I love you so much. Today is one of the greatest shows. And because we're ending Kwanzaa, in faith and in the knowledge of the collective and in the power that we know, not that we believe, that we know that we're going to do it, that we have done it already. So what are we waiting for? I want to thank you so much and invite you to tomorrow's conversation. It's key. Professor P.L.O. Lumumba has taken his time. Professor James Moore would be coming. All the biggest speakers that you know, because all of us, we are in the phase 2 now. You understand how we started. All right. Mobilization. I told you a couple of times how many times we cried here on Pan-African Daily TV. We wept, we cried, we laughed. What did we not do? All of us that are here saw how we collectively built this platform. But we're not going to end just on YouTube and Facebook, as you know. So we're also outsourcing our plan, like when they plan, we plan. When they plan, we plan double. You know, like when the Battle of Adowa, before the enemies came, I mean, Ethiopians had planned long ago. So we have to be on that mode. So please join us tomorrow. Like I said, it's gonna be 12 p.m. your time. Thank you, brother Parker. You already called it out. 12 p.m. is gonna be your time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard. And because we'll be doing 6 p.m. and he'll be doing 8 p.m. right there. Please don't miss it. It's gonna be another opening show of the new year. You know, Prof, when he comes live. And other speakers and scholars like King Maponga and others, all of them are coming. Nobody's going anywhere. We all created this platform together. And the spirit that brought us together is the spirit that gave this Pan-African Daily TV the platform to be the leading and the trusted voice of Pan-Africanism in the liberation movement of the 21st century of the Africans. By ourselves, doing it with our own means, with our own collective, with our own funding and our own media and everything. So I want to thank you very much. Yes, 11 o'clock. Wait, what did you say? 11 your time. Which time zone are you in? California or where? You know, I don't know the time zones anyway. So, but anyhow, we see. Thank you so very much, Brother Charles. Brother Charles, I cannot wait for us to meet again. You remember the rice that we went and ate with our fingers in that restaurant in New York City at the Black Excellence Award. We have to do it and do it and do it again, Brother Charles. I still have the last images where you came with us to the airport. I mean, of course, it was just, oh my God. Oh, what have we not done for this revelation? So, yes, it's time. We are in the phase 2, and we're just going to go back again and begin to do those steps. It's our time. It's our time. It's our time. What is this? IBC said, hey, Dr. Tata, a man named Trump went to pick up his lottery winning, but he had a warrant for his arrest. Get greedy, Donald. You get caught. Much love. Oh my God. Okay, anyways, whatever. Thank you so much, my beloved. We see us tomorrow with Professor Piero Lumumba live. That's the big fish, okay? And I'm going to drop his flyer right now while we're waiting for tomorrow because we're almost, into the next day. So we started January 1st. Happy Kwanzaa, end of day. We've shared the meal together. Happy Haiti. Happy Dr. Henry Clark's day today. And a lot of people, I think Tony Jaja also has a birthday today. Happy Ambassador Tony Jaja. Thank you so very much. You've always been that one that drums and everybody dances to the beat of the drum. So Dr. Tony Jaja is also celebrating his birthday today. Like January 1st is just for the big people, the independence people, the voice of the people out here and out there. Thank you so very much, brothers and sisters, for joining me. Thank you, Kofi. Kofi, we actually really missed you, and your post and your position is here. And you're back. We're so happy to have you. And, you sharing the comments and the shows and going even out of the show to call people to come and watch. The moment you went out and came back, the figures, the viewers just rose up. So, yes, we have to continue. We have to say Pan-African Daily TV is back 24/7, streaming live every day. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Alex, you say you're watching from Jamaica. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. I mean, we're almost 200 watching this live show today for the first time. Kwaheri, thank you, Reparation. Thank you, everyone. Yes, we see ourselves tomorrow. And good night, peace and blessings and love to all of us. And we continue the mission. Now you know we're winning. As Professor Bayyinah brought the spirit of freedom on the 1st of January 2025, we are on the trail of our freedom and unstoppable. We don't have any business. Our whole business is just the business of freedom right now. So you can also, don't miss the freedom soup. Don't miss the Freedom Soup. Don't miss these 2 projects. These are our project partners on Pan-African Daily. And I told you, register your project with us. Text us and bring your project to exposure. We're going to give you the platform. You talk about your project like Brother Dennis and Brother Charles. Tell us your project, tell us your vision, tell us your mission, and we're going to support you. We're going to give you the exposure. We're going to connect you worldwide. So we thank you so very much. And watch out for Pan-African Daily TV Digital Awards coming up in March. I just say it and I begin to say it, the flyers and everything will be coming up. And that's going to be a paid event. I'm just going to tell you that right here. So we're not going to straight broadcast it live on Pan-African Daily TV YouTube because we've looked at all the cost and everything. We cannot really cover it. And we're looking for sponsors and partners to actually push that, the first digital awards here. We have to honor our speakers and all the elders that have been doing the incredible job to keep Pan-African Daily TV a success of what it is today. So please get ready for that. It's going to definitely be on Zoom where you have to, get a ticket, not expensive, to be able to support so that we can print and do all the merchandising and get the award. But after that, we're going to actually open it for our audience and everybody. So thank you so very much. We see us tomorrow, and stay sweet and be African. Thank you. Good night. You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want: unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherland's calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa.